The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us this week for Tech Tip Tuesday. My name is Summer. I'm filling in for Christy today. Our solutions architect, Howard Young, is our host as always, and today we're going to cover AWS Workspaces VDI with Zadara. If you have any questions, go ahead and submit your question through the control panel on your right, and we'll make sure to either answer right away or get to your question at the end of the webinar. Let's begin. Howard, go ahead.
Well, hello everyone, and with this Tech Tip Tuesday, I want to cover AWS Workspaces. And if you haven't used AWS Workspaces before, it's a very good product, and I highly recommend it. And basically, what it does, it allows you to spin up Windows instances that are pre-established workspaces that give you a desktop experience. So you don't have to go off, typically when we spin up like an EC2 instance, we have to run in like a Windows server. But this gives you more of like a desktop feel and look that you find right on your workspace or laptop if you're using that type of environment. So today, let me go over a couple things. And what really ties everything together with Workspaces is our storage, Zadara storage. And because it's integrated with Active Directory, and I'll go all over this with you in a second, it really just gives you a very good product to moving your workload into AWS. So here if I go here in my Safari, and hopefully you can still see that Summer, but the Workspaces here gives you capability to add Active Directory. So if you wanted to add an Active Directory for your company, there's a couple things you can do. And here we have a simple Active Directory that will support up to 5,000 users. You can also use a larger one if you have a larger number of users, even groups up to 50,000. You can create a Microsoft Active Directory, but in most cases, for small companies, you can get by with a simple AD. Now we do have we've tested this up to, I think it's up 500,000 users and groups and on our OPAS. So it's it's very robust in that way, and even if you need to expand beyond 50,000, you can go ahead and do that. But when you create the Active Directory, and this will be a requirement of your workspaces, you can go ahead and create a workspace. So here we already have two Zadara workspaces here, mine and Eric. Eric's one of our DevOps, and you go ahead and launch a workspace in a particular region. So this one here is in our East 1 region, and this is all connected to our Zadara storage through Direct Connects. If you don't have a directory created at this point, you just go ahead and create an Active Directory. But since that's already created, we would go ahead and create a workspace for a user. Now, you can only create a single user or single workspace for each user, so you can only get a single workspace. So you can't spin up a second workspace unless they add a second account. But if we go ahead and add that, and you can add additional users to that workspace if you wanted to share that. At this point, I would recommend putting like an admin on here also, and then they can access that too. Now, there's a couple things you can do, and if you look at the Windows 7 options here, these are all going to be based off Windows 2008 server with a desktop experience. Now you can deploy this with Office 2010 or 2013, and if you actually scroll this down here, and you can get different types of flavors here. So there's a value, a standard, and performance. So if you need a Windows 10, you can go Windows 10. Now for Windows 10, I wouldn't really run with a 2 gig type of memory. This is going to run on Windows 2016, and you need a little bit more memory for that than 2 gig and a single CPU. It may, I haven't tried this, but I've tried spinning up a 2016 server with a low amount of memory. It's kind of slow at that point. But for Windows 10, I would just go standard like that, and you go ahead and create a Windows server here, or a Windows 10 desktop for your user. And then you can use Office 2016, or I guess you can go, that's the only thing that's available. So you have to use Office 2016 for if you can do like a Windows 10 type workspace for your users. Now the thing is, if you use Office 365, I would just go ahead and use the Windows 10 type of standard application, and that's what I'm running today on my workspace. So I have Office 365, the business edition, and it's actually a little bit less expensive to do it through that than going through Office, the bundled set here. But if you don't have it, this is perfectly okay too. So what is once you spin up the Windows or the workspace, and this is here my workspace. If you can see the whole screen here, I have a complete set of applications here. So if I want to go ahead and run Visio, this is through my Office 365 subscription. I can run, and basically I can use Visio right in the web. Because I have a Mac here, I have to run the workspace or Visio on a Windows environment. And of course you can use PowerPoint and all the Office suites. So they work perfectly fine within this environment. Now if you configure your VPSA and integrate with Active Directory, you can have a common share. Now if you look at the properties of this, and let's see, properties, you'll see that it's fully integrated on the security basis with all the properties of who created. So this is my particular home directory that I would use for AWS Workspaces, and then I use a backup of all my data here, and I can also back up for example, my Google Drive. I can back that up too in OneDrive. I just use to copy that over, and then I have a completely backed up workspace that's local. So that works really good for that user, for any type of user. Now, for any type of development, if a project, this could be shared across multiple workspaces, and basically you can move your entire company into the cloud using this type of approach. So it works really good if you have remote offices or just on site. The good thing is that your printers are also brought into the workspace. So if you have a network printer, you can actually print from your workspace locally, so you don't lose any functionality that way. So if you need to do any printing or fax any data, you can do that also through Workspaces. So it's a really good product, and integrated with Zadara, it makes it even better, because within AWS you really don't have the shared server or Windows type of CIFS interface unless you go with Zadara. So let's look at the VPSA here, and I'll log into it. I'll show you how to do this from Zadara's point of view. If I remember my password. So what you'll need to do is you'll have to create a volume, and the volume, of course, is going to be based on a NAS share and then SNV. And I already created one, but I'll create another one real quick. So here's the one that we were looking at, actually Workspace 1, and it's mapped to AWS Workspace servers. But what you would want to do, you want to create a NAS share, And then on your SMB options, you would use enhance ACLs. And then that would be completely integrated with your Active Directory and Workspace that I showed a little bit earlier. And then under your NAS access control, you would join an Active Directory. So here I already joined our Zadara East 1 AWS Workspaces Active Directory. So if you look at the properties, you basically would provide the domain name, the NetBIOS name, and the DNS. And it's very simple to set this up and configure. It took me about 5 minutes to do it, and the hardest part is just finding out what the IP address was, and you can get that by just pinging the domain name. So it's once you have it set up, you have a complete office environment that's cloud-based. And if you have remote offices that you're trying to integrate to a common storage, this is absolutely the best way to do it right now, from what I can tell. The other approach you would end up doing is sort of you'd have a common storage in AWS, and you have to create a VPN from the office into the public cloud. But what this does, it actually gives you a really good interface, and the VDI, what they're using here in AWS, is called PC over IP, or PCOIP is the acronym for that. It's just sending pixels, very fast interface here. I've tested this over tethering on my cell phone, so I can access my desktop anywhere, wherever I have cell coverage. Very secure. Data is not transmitted between my laptop and the cloud itself. So everything will stay in the cloud. It's just basically a zero client type of interface. So Summer, I know I talked quite a bit here. Are there any questions on this type of technology and process?
There was one question, but I believe you answered it already. He took back his question, but it started with, how does Windows licensing work? Do we need one ready? So I think you spoke about that a little bit in the beginning. Can you tell us the requirements one more time, please?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. It's when you build up your workspace, it comes with the license. So you can also bring your own license. They have a couple prices, and let me show you. That's actually a very good question. And there's a couple prices that when you build this up. Let's see if I can find it. They have prices in when you create the bundles here, but basically the model is two things. One, they have an always on. So if you look at the always on model, you charge per month for that, and then they have on demand. So that's another model. Then you have a license where you can bring your own. So you'd enter your Microsoft license, and then the price is a little bit, you just charge for the EC2 instance, and also because you're charged for the normally in these type of models here with the standard Office, you charge a fraction of or you charge for the fee of the license, Microsoft license. But if you have your own license, you're not charged for that. You're just charged for the instance.
Okay. Can you describe the differences between always on and on demand? Would on demand be only when you're accessing the workspace?
Yeah. So the always on is you charge for the EC2 instance. The on demand, basically, what will happen is it'll shut down your instance after about an hour. You can actually configure that from an hour up to like 12 hours or something like that. So what happens is if you're not using it, it shuts down the instance, and then when you start it back up the next day, it just spins it up. What it'll do a snapshot of where you are. So it does like when you put your laptop in sleep mode, it does like it dumps all the RAM and everything into memory, into the drive, and it will restore it to that point. So you don't. It's pretty transparent. So you're still charged a little bit per hour for that, but if you're only using your workspace, in like my case, if I just only used it for PowerPoint, I would do that. I would just say, well, I only need it for a couple hours a month. You'll save quite a bit on your charge.
Got it.
And this is all described in the workspaces itself on the pricing. So you can just go to the product page for workspaces, and it'll give you all that information.
Thank you, Howard. Is there any more questions that you'd like to ask Howard before we close out? It's a very interesting subject. I didn't know we were capable of this, and I think this will be very helpful to our customers.
Yeah, I definitely recommend this. Just to try it out and as an option for your business. It's worth spinning one up, and just integrate it, Active Directory. Try it out with Zadara, and you'll be surprised how well it works.
Well, looks like that's all the questions we had this week. Oh, one just came in. One moment. Okay. The question is, it's a comment right now. I send a CLI command at 7:30 a.m. to spin up my workspace before 8 a.m. and not wait 3 minutes to start. So the question, it sounds to me like it's, is there any latency for getting it started? Or maybe he's commenting on his experience. What do you think, Howard?
Yeah, I think I've shut it down. I've done both, the on-demand and the always-on. I really didn't see much latency for starting it up. It takes a couple minutes. So I would just go ahead and log it on, and get a cup of coffee, and then by the time you come back, it's probably up and running.
Okay.
So within a couple minutes, I mean, it should be ready. It's not like sort of like booting up your laptop on Windows.
Mm-hmm. So if you're using always on, what would be the use case for that? If you're constantly getting into the workspace, would it be more beneficial to do on demand if you're not going to use it maybe for 12 hours while you're asleep, or what do you suggest?
I would have to look at the price benefit on that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's for the always on is like $35 a month type of thing, and then the other one is going to be, it has a base price of around $9 depending on the model. I'm sort of going based on memory, but you can look at the actual price, and they charge you 35 cents per hour use. So,
Okay.
you have to look at it. If you're only using it for a couple days a month, it's probably better just to do the on-demand type of thing.
Okay. Great. Thanks you for answering all the questions. I don't see any more now. If you do have a question, you can reach Howard at either on that bit.ly link that's shown right now, Ask Me Anything. There you can submit topics for Tech Tip Tuesday. Otherwise, you can reach Howard at his Twitter account, at HowardY, or on LinkedIn, or send him an email, right to his Zadara email. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us this week. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening. We look forward to seeing you next week.